Two-factor authentication, commonly known as 2FA, adds an extra layer of security to your application by requiring at least two types of authentication. Like all security, authentication and 2FA is about finding the right balance between usability and friction. We want to make things hard enough to access that an attacker won't try to break in, but easy enough to access that the real user can get to what's secured. Figuring out the right balance usually depends on what you're protecting. For example, I'm comfortable with a simple deadbolt for my house door, but a jewelry store has an alerting system and is gonna hire security guards. When we think about securing our online accounts, we make similar calculations for the right level of security. So while I might be okay with just a simple password for my local pizza store, I'm gonna want additional protections for my bank account and my email. Even though I trust that you have stronger passwords than things like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, there are a lot of folks still using short guessable passwords or reusing passwords across multiple sites. But as much as we'd like to believe that we're better than this, the website haveibeenowned.com proves that simple passwords like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 are still incredibly common. That password has been seen over 24 million times in data breaches. Password reuse is a really big problem because even if somebody has a strong password, if they're reusing that password across multiple sites, a data breach at a site like MySpace or LinkedIn, both of which have happened to those sites, could affect your site too and mean that the user's account on your site could get breached. This kind of account takeover, commonly known as ATO, can result in huge monetary losses for your business. Javelin Strategy and Research found that ATO fraud cost companies $6.8 billion in 2019. That's a big problem. This is why we need to start thinking about other types of authentication that aren't just passwords. There are three main types of authentication factors. First, knowledge factors. That's something that you know, like a password. Second, possession factors. That's something that you have, like a mobile phone or a key. And third is inherence factors, and that's something that you are, like a fingerprint or a face scan. Use any two of these factors together, and you have two-factor authentication. This is sometimes also called multi-factor authentication, or MFA. We see this all the time in the real world. A common example is a debit card and PIN. That's something that you have, the debit card, and something that you know, the PIN. So even if somebody steals your debit card, it's unlikely that they're going to be able to access the money in your account because they probably won't know the PIN. Sure, it's an extra step, but the additional friction is what's going to help keep your account secure. Possession factors like sending a one-time passcode to a phone, email, or through an authenticator app like Twilio's Authy are also going to be harder to breach than a simple password. There are a lot of different ways your business can add 2FA. Let's take a look at the trade-offs of some common channels like SMS, email, time-based one-time passcodes, also known as TOTP, and push authentication. Each method has different advantages, and many companies end up implementing multiple channels to support the unique needs of their users. SMS 2FA is the most common form of 2FA right now because most users can already receive a text message on their phone. A 2019 Google study found that an SMS code sent to a recovery phone number helped block 100% of automated bots, 96% of bulk phishing attacks, and 76% of targeted attacks. Combined with a unique long password, these two factors are enough to secure a lot of online accounts. Email-based 2FA will protect accounts where the first factor was compromised with brute forcing or guessed passwords. So this could help protect where passwords are things like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, or spring 2021, or in the case of credential stuffing. Time-based one-time passwords, or TOTP, is another possession factor that generates unique numeric passcodes based on an algorithm. The inputs to the algorithm include a secret key and the current system time, and that means that the entire factor is available offline. TOTP also uses symmetric key cryptography, which offers increased security compared to SMS. It does require an app download, but apps like Authy that implement the TOTP spec are pretty handy to have in your arsenal. Push authentication is a great option because it's both easy to use and super secure. Users love it because it's so low friction. You can approve or deny a login request directly from your smartwatch. It uses asymmetric key cryptography, so every authentication is tied to a specific device. Plus, it's one of the only forms of MFA that lets you explicitly deny a login, which could help your business learn about potential attacks. It's a bit more work to implement and does require that your users have a special app. But the bright side is that if you already have a lot of mobile users, you can build push authentication directly into the mobile application that you already have. Offering MFA doesn't help secure your customers if they don't opt into the feature. Some companies report that only 2% of users will turn on optional 2FA. The most security-conscious users might already have long, secure, and unique passwords, and they probably don't need to be convinced to turn on 2FA. So how do you convince your most vulnerable users that they might need to enable additional security features? A 2019 study on 2FA usability found that only 29% of people thought the inconvenience of 2FA was always worth the security trade-off. One participant noted, "I just don't think I have anything that people would want to take from me, so I think that's why I haven't been very worried about it." This sentiment reflects something that security researcher Cormac Hurley wrote about a decade ago. It's mainly time and not money that users risk losing when attacked. It's also time that security advice asks of them.
To me, the biggest challenge with consumer authentication is that users have been dealing with passwords for decades. They're not new and they're constantly annoying. You always have to use them when you sign into new accounts. And that means that users are used to being frustrated with passwords. They're used to authentication being something that's challenging and time consuming. And that means that when you're doing consumer authentication, you have to think about it from that perspective. User testing, like in software development, helps you understand what is going well and what isn't going well. And ultimately, the goal of usable security is to make it pleasant for the users to do. I think timing and the level of difficulty are the most important things to think about. First, when you're educating users, it has to be at the right time for them to consume that information. Otherwise, no one's going to read a giant page of questions and answers that they don't see the relevance of. And the other thing is the level of difficulty. So if it's something that's really challenging to do and they have no experience doing it, then they won't have the motivation to do so. Whereas if you present something that is easy to do, they can see the benefits of, then you can build up from there.
Incentivizing users to take additional security measures is one way to offset the time investment and have them place more value in better account security. Most consumer companies won't make 2FA mandatory, but you have other options than just hiding it in profile settings. Things like login prompts can be really effective, especially if you are persistent about the reminders. Offering product incentives to enable 2FA was popularized by Fortnite in 2018. The incentive got a lot of attention in the media, and you can see its effects in public interest on Google search trends for 2FA. That first spike in 2018 can be attributed to Fortnite, which publicized its incentives around the same time. Google trends for related topics and queries to 2FA still center around Fortnite and its parent company, Epic Games. Incentives like these might be one of the reasons public awareness of 2FA has increased since 2017, according to a study by Duo Security. Fortnite isn't the only company offering incentives, though, and there are a variety of ways companies are encouraging their users to enable this security feature. Other video game companies also offer 2FA incentives, which makes sense since the gaming economy is pretty big, and in-game incentives are basically free to provide. World of Warcraft and Rockstar Games both offer similar 2FA incentives to Fortnite. Twitch also started offering emote incentives last year. Outside of gaming, some companies offer billing discounts to provide monetary incentives. The bank Wealthsimple offered $100 in free managed savings to customers who turned on 2FA. Other companies require 2FA to enable special features. For example, GitHub requires 2FA to enroll in its GitHub Sponsors program.
I think there's this tendency to think about usable security as something that you can set and forget, or as if it's something that there is a threshold and once you're past that threshold, you're great. But instead, I would think of it more as like almost customer service, where the users are trying to achieve security and it's something that is constantly changing. It's not something that you can just set once and forget about it, but instead you have to just continue trying at it and making improvements. As someone who studies usable security and privacy, there are no magic answers as much as I wish they existed. Instead, it's just a process of learning and doing better.
As you can tell, there's no one-size-fits-all solution for authentication and 2FA. Consider the risk and the friction that your users are willing to accept in order to design the best experience. Remember that authentication is not the goal for most users, but a means to an end. That's why things like user testing and offering the right channels for 2FA can help make sure that your users are adequately protected and minimally frustrated. We're putting together some tutorials on 2FA, so make sure that you're subscribed to the channel. In the meantime, check out this video that I picked out just for you.